Okay, I've gotten a lot of new followers recently, and I've gotten some questions, so I figured it would just be easy to do a little bit of about me. I'll try to make it as short as possible, but it's kind of a long story. In February of 2018, I got the flu. It was a normal day for me. I went to work, came home, made dinner for the kids, and I'm asthmatic. I get bronchitis a lot in the winter, so I thought that's what it was. And I was taking a nebulizer treatment, and my breathing was not getting any better. It was actually getting worse pretty quickly. So I went to go to urgent care, and I made it to the driveway where my breathing was just so bad I couldn't function to drive. And I was just sitting in the car, and my 11-year-old daughter came outside and asked why I was still there, and she ended up calling 911 for me and saving my life. But so I went to the hospital by ambulance. En route, I was put on I was intubated, sorry, and at the hospital was put on a ventilator eventually, but I ended up with MSSA infection in my lungs. I always say MRSA, but it's not MRSA, it's MSSA. And that spread rapidly to the point where my lungs on the x-ray were white within 24 hours, both of them. So, ventilator, and then my heart started to fail from everything that was going on. So, heart stopped a couple times, defibrillator, all that good stuff. They put me on ECMO, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a machine that takes the blood out of your body, oxygenates it, and puts it back into your body, pretty much giving your heart and lungs a little bit of a rest so they can heal. And then I ended up with sepsis. And between the sepsis and the poor infusion to my leg from the ECMO machine, because the ECMO went in the femoral artery, I ended up becoming an amputee. At first it was below knee, but then they ended up moving it to above knee. Went into septic shock also. The ventilator was moved to a trach, if you can see that scar, because every time I woke up I was trying to pull the breathing tube out. Obviously I had no idea what was going on, but they ended up giving me so many paralytic drugs to keep me from pulling the tube out that when I woke up I was paralyzed for a couple of weeks. I could only move my head, so had to relearn everything over and over again, moving up to whatever. After the sepsis, went into septic shock, and then kidneys shut down. So I had to do dialysis for a couple weeks. In total, I was in the hospital for 2 months, inpatient rehab for a month, and then I did a year of outpatient physical therapy trying to walk with a prosthetic. It did not work for me. Between the pain of weight bearing on the stump, residual limb, whatever you want to call it, and not being able to get a hang of the knee, falling down all the time, putting me in a very, very bad mental state, like not wanting to wake up mental state. It was just, wheelchair was the answer. So that's the story of why I'm in a wheelchair. And then in September of 2024, I had a mammogram which showed invasive ductal carcinoma, breast cancer. And in November of 2024, I had surgery to have the cancer removed. Luckily, I did not have to have mastectomy. And then I did radiation from end of December to end of January. And fingers crossed, everything has been good since then. I ended up getting divorced in January of 2025 because, she's just a friend. She wasn't just a friend. But that's not really important. But I just figured I'd let people know because I get people all the time in my inbox, oh, I'd like to date you, and things like that. And between being in a wheelchair, being an amputee, struggling with anxiety, and being an overthinker, people just ghost after hearing that. So now maybe people can watch my story and know before they attempt to talk to me, and I won't have to deal with the ghosting bullshit. So that's my story. Thanks for listening. Sorry it was so long.